Hello, good day to each and every one of you. Today we will be talking about a new series of videos I decided to begin this year about the basics of synthesis. Where else shall we start but with our favorite part of a synthesizer, the oscillators, what I lovingly call the heart and soul of the synthesizer. When it comes to synthesizers, the first thing we all want to hear is obviously the sounds we can all make from them. However, understanding where they come from and how they work is the most important. No matter what machine you choose to play or build yourself, the first thing we must understand is what the function of an oscillator is. The first function of an oscillator is to produce a tone, a simple oscillating tone which can be heard without any filtering or envelope. Which, in honesty, is not the most exciting thing to hear in the world unless you are really into hearing tones from an audiogram. Clearly, we are not in the business of just listening to an audiogram for hours at a time, thus we'll just leave it as such. The function of an oscillator is to produce electronic tones which can be amplified and used in a musical form. No lie, an oscillator literally has one job. And at this point, anything extracurricular is just an added benefit. However, we need to understand that all oscillators must have, without a doubt, the following sounds in its bank: a sine wave, a triangle wave, a saw wave, a square, or pulse wave. Your oscillator must have these tones, or something to them at least. I've seen oscillators where they have different features on them, like spike wave, or ring, or other different proprietary tones as well. The thing is, with the grand world of oscillators, these are the tones we need to just have as just a basis. There are variation tones with an oscillator, which an oscillator can make. A lot of example inside my first synthesizer I purchased were tones which were designed as digi or Voc, as well as others like ring and bell. Whilst these do sound and concept really cool tones to explore, they are, in heart, what is really happening is the manufacturer has made a blend tone which they have tacked a name onto. If something sounds voice-like, then the oscillator tone is titled as a Voc, for sake of concept. It's not necessarily important for an oscillator to have these extra tones among them. However, as a consumer, it all depends on what your goal is overall, and do you see these as an added benefit. Pitch is finely determined typically from a few places on a synthesizer, typically in a section called pitch, which will set your keyboard to a set range on a piano scale. Otherwise, modular land, there is typically a dial called frequency, which can be turned from low end to high end. A really solid oscillator should be able to hit high pass, mid, and low pass ranges. Then there is the really low end tones of sub-oscillator territories, which are beneficial when we think about how those frequencies used along with mid to high tones blend together. When we think of pitch, we have to sonically think of it as how fast a sound is traveling through the air. The higher the frequency, the faster the oscillator is pushing a tone shape. The lower and slower the one interval of a wave shape is moving in the air. With this concept in mind, we can apply it as a guitar string. Thinner guitar strings move faster than thicker guitar strings, thus thinner strings produce a higher pitched tone and lower tones is heard from a thicker guitar string. We can think of music or sound as a spectrum. I know, drop enough acid and you too can get to this level of thinking. However, it is not too far off the mark when really thinking about it. Though I am not the fellow who have come to with the idea or the concept, it is quite easily the best way for me to describe what the function of wavefolding, a West Coast synthesis concept, is. In its heart, wavefolding is like sending a tone or anything would do, like a sine wave or any of the other tones, into a prism, much like a light into a prism. The fracture of light goes into the prism, splits based on the facets, cuts, and then produces a spectrum of colors from it. We can think about the same thing when we think about wavefolding. We can have a module or a synthesizer with this capability, which bends the original signal as many times as the artist wishes, and then the output is hearing a new spectrum of sound from the original tone. All in all, oscillators are the heart engine to any synthesizer and electronic instrument. from theremins to buchlas, moogs, and your very own Eurorack modular synthesizer. All in all, thank you guys so much for tuning in, listening to this little how-to guide. We're doing a 101 on synthesis essentially, so the next video to come will be adding 2 concepts of synthesis as we explore synthesizers. And this was like information that I had to learn along myself and for myself, and I don't appreciate like in the community of, you know, electronic artists that not we, but essentially a good amount of people gatekeep information, or even just the basics of what is available or what could be available and just readily accessible. So for this series, I hope that the 101 sessions are beneficial for you. If they are, let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell notification down below. And if you want to read a portion of this video or a accompaniment to it, then you can also check out a blog link down below as well. So till then, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, don't pollute. I will see you all in the next 101 session. Till then, ciao.